Hi, this is Zachary McNulty, and I am making my Miniproject 3 video on this lovely game of 5 flip and 3 roll. So I was charged with writing a program that it's a game between two players. The goal is to try and guess the number of heads that are going to be flipped from a fair coin in a total of, if you flip the coin 5 times, and you want to guess how many heads are going to land in that 5 times, I get 4 chances to try and get my number, which is described as NH right here. And then it's the other player's turn. If I do, let's say I guess 3 times, and I hit 3 heads in one of my tries, then I get to roll the dice, and I roll 3 fair dice, and my score, so my score is the sum of the dice roll times the number of times it took me to get my heads. And then the score is cumulative, and we play till we get to 1,000 points. And as it progresses, I kept track of stuff in a text file, and then we'll go over a little bit of the theory of the game afterwards. So, onto this lovely thing here. So I imported some random stuff, you'll see in a bit. Score 1 is a text file I set up so that every time I open this, it clears the file from the old data that was there, and it stores the data I'm going to tell it to store there. You'll see it. Kathy and Martha are the two lovely players of the game. I've assigned them as -1 and 1 because it's easy to switch between by just giving the X a negative, and it switches between these guys. This is the dictionary where I keep the score. This is setting the scores to 0. This is the round counter. It's going to go up with every time Martha picks, then Kathy picks, or Kathy picks, then Martha picks. Well, that's 1 round, then the round turns to 2. NH is my temporary hold for their guess of each round, for how many heads they're going to get, number of heads. Score turns, my scorekeeper. So the first thing you have to do is randomly pick who's going first. So randint 0, 1, it's going to pick Martha or Kathy, and it's charged with X, and you're going to see X as one of the parameters a lot in here. So decider, this is the main, am I going to keep playing? Has my score reached 1,000 yet? If not, keep going. If it has, then we're going to stop. So it's setting here. This is gonna retrieve the guesses. We're gonna get down there in a second. This is gonna be checking the score. If it's this, we're gonna change it. If it's underneath 1,000 points, we're gonna change the player. Else, it's gonna break. And then this is the kind of long, ugly code for opening my text file, putting a space in, putting a total score, another space, writing the score, a bunch of spaces, and closing it. I have to open. I have to close it. That's why each function can open it and close it and add stuff to it. And I've kind of changed the names of the file as it goes through different functions to keep track of it. So if it is, I'm printing the current score, and this is going to the viewer, so Martha and Kathy can see their score. And then keep doing this loop. So in this loop, I've sent myself down to 1 round, and you can see it down here. Parameter X, again, X is going to be either +1 or -1, keeping track of which player it is. And this is going to do 1 round of the game. It's going to open the file, it's going to write the round. It actually doesn't do that much. It's just going to, it's going to request from Kathy and Martha before the round starts, what do you think it's going to be, what do you think it's going to be? It writes that down, and then it ends. So this is the actual guess number. And here's where I'm writing to my dictionary, number of heads up top. It's going to be guess whatever X is, the number of heads from the 5 flip. I open it, I wrote what I guessed, closed it, and then a turn. All that this does is it returns the player's score up to decider, up top, to make sure it hasn't reached 1,000 yet. And round down is down here, and these are some of the helper functions that help round out. We'll get to them in a second. So round is probably the most important file, or I guess it's the most interesting. It's the most fun to write. I open this. I have a counter. I have a temporary total. Temporary total is for each time I'm flipping. So for my 5 flip, I'm flipping it 4 times. Remember, so I'm flipping the coin 5 times in sets of 4 of 5 times. So is my temporary total what I guessed? If it isn't, add 1 to the counter, reset my temporary total, and flip that stuff again. If my temporary total is what I guessed, then go on to some rolls. And again, I'm limited by 4 here. So if I reach my max, round 0. Bummer. So I do my rolls, and now let's look at those little helper functions. And what this is doing is in my file, it's letting me know what the multiplier was, because I think it's interesting. So yeah, this is pretty simple. I was having trouble getting the flip 5 in my helper function, so I had to take it out and put it in the round file. But flip, picking a random number, if it's head or tails, it's either 1 or a 50-50 chance here. Returns a 1, returns a 0, and so I add up those numbers, and if it is NH, which is going to be a number 0 through 5, like I already explained it there. So my roll is a randint 1 to 6, just like a die, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I return the roll. And this is the list where I'm rolling a dice. So I have 3 times to roll a die. I get 3 different things. I add it to my dictionary, to my list right here, and I return the rolls back to here where I multiply it by the counter, which told me how many times it took for me to get to my number within 4 times. And then I write the scores, and here's where I enter them into the dictionaries, to the lists up above. Names, the x plus or minus 1, and it equals itself plus the round score. And then, if it's Kathy, write Kathy's score down on this file that I've opened, and if it's Martha, put it down over there. And then open the file, close the file, and return the names back up to the top. So that's the code. It's pretty lengthy, it's kind of ugly. It's a pretty boring game, to be honest, but it was fun to write. So, let me run it for you real quick. We'll go through a real fast enter button pushing thing I like to do so much. So, Kathy is going first, apparently. 2 and 3 are the most probable ones to get picked. Between 0 and 5, there's a 50% chance every time you're flipping heads or tails, and so the middle would be 2 and 3, and from trial and error, that is definitely correct. And I will show you some lists that I've saved from testing it out. But here's just a bunch of 3s, just kind of show you. So Kathy got 22 points this round, Martha got 21 points this round. Here's the current score, and let's do some more. 5 is a pretty hard one to win on. 0 is the hardest by far. Kathy got lucky, 22 points. And there's the score, and then this is what repeats over and over again. I didn't put a lot of data in the actual shell because you're just flying by. 1,000 points. Kathy and Martha are some of the fastest typers I've ever seen. They don't even want to read the score. They'd rather there was less so they could just play faster. So let's look here. Here's the ones. And except for this one, the first one, I messed up and I pushed 2. But for the rest of them, I swear I pushed 1. And you can tell, there's not a lot of advancement. Sometimes they sit still for a round or 2. But then they bounce up. The thing with the less probable numbers is that if they do get lucky, and it is later in the roll, because they're less lucky, their multiplier is going to be higher, which is kind of a benefit. But because they just really aren't as frequent, that's just the way it is. It took, how many times did this take? 63 times. That wasn't so bad. Let's look at 2. So, 60 times. I find that, I don't know, I guess 2 sometimes seem to do better than 3, and sometimes 3 seem to do better than 2. This is just how the random module works. Really, it's not a true random module, but it's pretty close. Here we are at 57. And, you can see that the players are getting a score, you know, at least pretty much every time. I don't know. It seems like they are just a little bit every time. And on, on my text file, you can see I'm printing the round number, what they guessed, and the multiplier, 8, 7, 11. Because that's another little probability thing. And then it has the total score there, and you can always see that when someone wins, they're over 1,000. I have an unregistered Windows, apparently. And the last one, 4. Let's see, it took 70. So I tried for 0 for a while. I got up to like 150, and I tapped out. So 0 and 5, they took a long time to get to. Kind of demonstrating what I said earlier. 2 and 3 seem to be the most probable. 3 seems to be the best. And then with 4 and 5. So let's go look at that window, the assignment window. Talk about the questions. So, I mean, because this game just takes so long, it's not like they're really thinking too hard about what they're picking. I would pick 2 and 3 because they seem to kind of get the best points, but, I would pick 3. I think it seems to do the best the most frequently. Let's see. Back to... Where's that little shell at? Oh. Let's see. Let's get to the end of it real quick so you can see. I'm just going to pause it real quick and get to the end of the score so you can see it. And here we are at the end of a 3 round. And so you can see the final score, 903 to 1031. The score difference is 121. I generally see the score difference to be anywhere between 20 and, this is actually the highest I've seen, 128. I'm sure it gets higher than that too. So this is pretty much it. When I was writing the code, I did a couple bits of testing where just seeing the frequency of the flip, for instance. I messed around with the probability of the flip. I made this plus less than or equal to 0.5, and that greatly changed the values when it came to pushing 3 versus 2. And just kind of tweaking them a little bit, just seeing what if I got an extra roll in there, or what if the dice was changed between a certain range. And so all those parameters really greatly changed the outcome of the game. It was a fun use of it. A little bit of formatting here and there. Overall, not so bad. Anyway, this is Zach McNulty, and this is Miniproject 3.